First proper trip to the garage in a couple of weeks. Lots to do. Want to get the motor out of there and the gearbox, which means getting underneath and getting the gearbox mount off. But then actually I want to get that car back down on wheels because things are going to get a bit tight in here. I'm going to leave the 300 here today and get a taxi home, or public transport, I haven't worked it out yet. Which means I need to tuck it right up next to this one, because on next week I need to get my wife's car in here for an unusual video where I'm going to try and fix something on my wife's car, the Battle Bus. At some point I think Vince is going to be bringing his other project in here, so I can't block the driveway, I can't just leave the 300 there, so I need to tuck it all up as far that end as possible. That probably means moving a few things around, tidying up if I'm still going to have access to everything, and be able to get all the, well, or potentially 4 cars in here by the end of next week. So, time to crack on. Done a bit of a tidy up, got the overalls on, now under the car. Need to get the jack up under the gearbox to keep that supported, get it aligned so that I can roll the motor and gearbox combination straight out, and then just get these bolts out. They're only done up fairly loosely, so it shouldn't take more than a minute. First chance to look at the 300 body kit in the flesh, on the ground, on wheels. Now obviously that bonnet needs to come down some. There's some tweaking to do on the fitment of that. But you can see I'm going to need some big wheels or big tyres in there. Obviously it needs more, it'll have more weight in it, so it'll drop down. But those are some big arches to fill. So I think those are 16s that are on it now. I mean, 18s certainly wouldn't look out of place, but with some good chunky tyres on as well. This is resto mod, not run flats. A bit less at the back, obviously there's a bit more weight in the back with the diff in and everything else. But nonetheless, still plenty of arch to fill. It's really interesting is now it's on the ground, the door looks a lot less Z3. I've always thought this with body swap kit cars, that sometimes the door's what gives it away. And actually, that looks pretty coherent, the way it all comes together. When this is all painted up, it's going to look frickin' phenomenal. But that's that shoved back for now. We can now bring the 300 up here, just enough space in between for engine crane, unless actually it might make sense to turn the 300 round, back it up here to here, and then we've got full access to the front, because we don't actually need access to the front of that one now that everything's out. So I'm going to rearrange things, probably pull the welding bench out so it's out of the way. Excuse me. And then turn the 300 round and bring it up here. Here. There we go. As you can see, we're having a bit of a flood issue in the workshop. Waiting still on a plumber to come and sort the drain out. Can't say I really fancy doing it. Managed to leave the old ice unit where it was in case somebody finally buys it. Anyone does want a 2 litre petrol lump, you know where I am. Give you a good deal. That's the 300 in now, tucked up nicely against what will be the GT. So I've separated out the motor, gearbox now down there, and the adapter plate. I've traced out around the motor and the gearbox to see if there's any spare to trim off, but actually the heater mount comes all the way down here. I've actually added some captive nuts for the heater mount on the other side, and actually one of the captive nuts that was missing for the gearbox on this side. One thing I realised when I was taking it apart though, I never drilled the matching holes on the gearbox plate to allow you to use a socket to go through and put the bolts in. I accidentally bought some really nice titanium bolts, but they're very nice. I thought they were a bit pricey. Anyway, so I've got to put some sort of holes on the other side of these. 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. Got to go through there. What I'll do is I'll drill a hole through with a smallish bit, just try and centre it on these, and then come back with a hole saw or something or equivalent, just so I've got space to get a socket through. It does mean that moisture will be able to get into the bell housing a bit more easily. Have to keep an eye on that. Maybe drill a hole in the bottom of the bell housing to let it drain out. We shall see. Just a quick update on things over here. 2 things. Number one, I've run out of welding gas, so I'm going to have to pick some of that up ideally this weekend, so I can finish up welding next week. And my drill was really struggling with getting through here, as you may have seen. Tried the hole saw to start with. Understandably, that's a bit tricky, and I don't have any cutting fluid or anything. And then I thought step drill would be absolutely fine, but actually it started to bind with the step drill and then trip out as well. So I'm giving it a few minutes to cool down. I don't want to damage my drill before I finish up the last hole. But that may have to be, well, we'll see. Haven't got too much longer here today. Since we can't do any more welding, and I'm still waiting for my drill to cool down for drilling, and I've also run out of satin black paint, so I can't paint any more stuff either. Might as well start taking this apart, which does mean I'm definitely going to taxi home. But yeah, the process of taking this all apart. I guess first thing to do is probably drain fluids, although actually I might break the battery pack down first, at least disconnect the modules, so that should anything have gone wrong with the S-box, I know it hasn't, but should anything have gone wrong with the S-box, there's no high voltages flying around. So do some disconnecting there, and then drain some fluids, so take the coolant out, take as much of the remaining ATF in the motor out as well. And then yeah, then start to disconnect. So disconnect the hoses, disconnect the high voltage wires, disconnect the 12 volts. You've seen me all do this before. I'll put a link in this video to my can you strip down and rebuild or how fast can you strip down and rebuild a homemade EV after it broke and I did a very ugly tear down and fix. So I won't necessarily film all of that, but yeah, that's the next process basically. I think I'll leave it there for today. I'm knackered. I've just realised that for some reason the app on my phone that I used to record has been adding in stuff that I was listening to on Spotify in the car hours ago, and I've no idea why or how, because Spotify wasn't even open. So I'm probably going to get a copyright strike if I try and use this footage without trying to remove that, which is a total pain in the arse. So we shall see. Maybe this one gets booted off and gets done for copyright issues because it's got loads of music in the background. Maybe it doesn't. Danny DC2 seems to get away with having the radio on in the background, so we shall see. Good progress though, got a lot done. The 300's up on jacks or jack stands, ready to come apart. I've disconnected the batteries. Next time I come in, when I'm not working on my wife's car, I'll be able to get in, get the fluids out, take the front valance off, and start just taking pieces out basically. And at the same time I'll be jumping back and forth between that and just finishing off the adapter plate, finishing off drilling those holes, a coat of paint, a little bit more welding on the motor mount, welding and trimming on that. And so yeah, as soon as we've got the adapter plate painted up, then the gearbox and motor can go in. I might leave the gearbox in there, and it's not shifting beautifully. I probably need to just tweak the linkage a little bit, but it'll do for now. So it'd be easier to do that than trying to swap the whole gearbox over, because getting up on top to do the linkage is a total pain, especially without an awful lot of height. Even at the full extension of these jack stands, there's not a load of room underneath the car. So yeah, just about scraped in at the stage I wanted to be at the end of this week. Thanks for watching. If you do enjoy this stuff, please like and subscribe, and yeah, see you next time.